Hello, my name is Liam McGrath and welcome to Stereotypical, a podcast about music and creativity brought to you by the OX Collective. Now today's episode is all about the art of collaboration, and in the true spirit of that art we will be joined by music producer and audio engineer Jono Tringham. Jack and I sat down with Jono to discuss his approach with working with other artists and how he got to where he is today as the owner of this very studio. Okay, Stereotypical, episode 3, let's go. Jono, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much.
How's it going? It feels weird, like, semi-interviewing you because, like, I know you on a very casual basis, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think it's quite fitting that you're, like, the first guy on, because at the start of every previous podcast, it's like, thank you to Allo Sound Studios for sponsoring, and obviously, like, this is your gaff, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But I think there's an opportunity for a quite unique conversation here because, like, we're all producers, we're all musicians. I wanted to know, for you guys, was there a point where you, like, transitioned from artist to producer, like, consciously, or was it more of, like, a natural evolution?
I don't remember it for me. I just started recording because, I mean, I only do this because my mum convinced me to do it.
What, to be a producer?
Well, not a producer, just to record. I just wanted to go and play drums in a band. Yeah. And my mum was like, why don't you do music tech? You might actually get a job.
Yeah.
Which is kind of true. We're talking 2010.
Yeah.
Or, like, probably like summer 2009, actually, before I actually went to college.
Yeah.
She said, just why don't you do music tech? And then I did it, and they were like, you're going to need some drummers so you can drum still.
Yeah.
So went and did it and fell in love with it. And then just did more recording than actual drumming because I just recorded my band constantly. And then obviously they played stuff in the way I didn't like it. So I said, maybe play it like this. So probably natural. There's never a point where I went, I'm going to be a record producer.
Yeah.
Never.
That's crazy. It's because as well, weirdly enough, you're the person who got me to do music tech because I'd like thought about producing a little bit.
You know why though? Because you're so finicky with what you wanted.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Just do it yourself, lad.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
What about you? Was the like?
Yeah, like, it's mad because if we're all done music tech, we all kind of know the same stages that we've been through. But for me, like, in our class, especially in music tech, I was like one of the least developed person as like a musician, I'd say.
Right.
Like, I feel like everyone else had something to give in terms of performing. So I was kind of already a step behind. But in terms of when it came to like producing and arranging, I felt like I was already a bit of a step ahead of people.
Yeah.
So I guess from there, it's just gone on to, obviously, like, I do still playing stuff.
Yeah.
But it's gone more from thinking about the performance to like how it actually sounds.
Yeah. So do you reckon like from the start of you even like tinkering with music, you were thinking about like how songs are put together?
Yeah, definitely. Like when I first got into music, it was the amazement of, oh my God, I wonder how they did this.
Yeah.
And then that was the basic, learning the chords of something and playing it for someone else saying, oh my God, it's that song.
Yeah.
And then it went from, oh, I wonder how they did like that production element of it, learning that way. Because I remember one of the first things I ever did was like download a Fruity Loops project of a Rihanna song. And it was proper shite, but it was interesting to visualise and see what was going on rather than just hearing it.
I think the first thing, I'm just thinking back now actually, that I ever did, which is like even before writing any songs, do you ever remember a program called EJ?
Nah.
No, it was like just loops.
Yeah.
And we went to like a place in Wales with school. It was like Kingston or something like that, Menai or something. And they had a computer suite and they had EJ. And I remember me and Andy, my best mate, who obviously I'm still in the band with now, like loading samples, and we'd like basically create like songs, and we thought he was class at it, and we called him DJ Perrin and stuff like that. But then that was forgotten about. And then, but in terms of what you're saying before, I think it depends what type of musician you start off at. If you start off as like, I just like playing guitar in a bedroom, and then you end up being like in a covers band or a session musician, you never have that, I'm in a band writing songs. And when you're in a band writing songs in the pracky room, you're producing. Yeah. Because you're rearranging, don't like that part. And there's always one or two people that have like the biggest voice over everyone. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it always amazes me that like other bands will just go to a place and get it recorded by someone.
Yeah.
Because I've always been like, make this sound like this, do that. And obviously, like, when I was younger, I didn't know shit, so that was probably very frustrating for you when we met and you were recording me.
It's easy, but then it's also harder because it's like what do you want it to sound like? And you go, I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's good, but it's also bad.
Yeah. Do you ever get people where you're like, what do you want this to sound like? And they say something and it's completely like not what the song is.
Oh
like.
yeah, all the time, yeah. All the time. And it's just about kind of then going to like, even when they haven't asked you to produce, you have to, otherwise it's never going to work.
Yeah.
But
so you more came in from like originally being a drummer and then just recording your band.
Yeah. And I mean, producing is like everything. It's like rearranging songs, telling people how to play stuff. Also telling you like kind of like evaluating what you're playing, not just like I was a drummer, not just I'm dead sick, these drums are sick. It's kind of like, does this song drums fit the song?
Yeah.
So it's kind of going through that, and then when I was recording demos, like really bad demos in my house, I'd set a studio up and I'd like, for example, like Alex, our old guitarist behind me, and I'd maybe play it like this, maybe play like that, play it like this, and that's me kind of producing but not realising it.
Yeah.
And then eventually you do something half decent, and then you might think, oh, actually this could be like something I want to do.
Yeah.
But I've never thought about it.
Yeah, so like you said before, when you said, you went to music tech because you was playing the drums and you may as well record it, and then from naturally you was recording your band.
Yeah.
Like, did they do a similar thing to you, or was they just interested in playing?
Do the band?
Yeah.
One of them, well, in the end, they all did, yeah. So Andy, my mate, basically went to college with me because we just did everything together. He was the guy I was telling you about who we were doing EJ stuff with. He just followed me doing that. We were doing it together. And then, like, as the band evolved, the guitarist, the singer, and the bass player ended up going back to college to do, like, a foundation degree in music tech. Because, as I'm sure you both know, like, have you been in bands yourself?
No.
So when you're in a band, the more you learn when you go to studios, the more you want to know.
Yeah.
Because like you go to studios and you don't understand things, and when it clicks, you kind of want to dive in deeper. So they wanted to know more, because when we'd been to the studio that we used to go to all the time, we wanted to understand what he was saying and what he was going on about. So they all ended up going back to uni, and I was always kind of looking up to Tim, who used to record us, because he was kind of cool. Like.
I'd say that's the difference between me and you in the way we learn. Like you were a very more traditional, like, you was in the band. You obviously knew Jono from a young age, and you was learning stuff outside of college, where all of my learning kind of came from what the people at college, or like you or Tim, for example, was telling me.
Yeah.
And then going off my own back at home and learning that way. Like, I don't know what side chaining is, let me go and research it. And then by the time I was into college next, I was able to smash it out.
Yeah.
Whereas you two, for example, just seem to be going out and like learning it by yourselves anyway.
I always wonder what type, where it would have ended up if I would have, because I learned, like you were saying then, is some people learn from like, this is what someone's telling you, and people learn, me and Liam, for example, learn from doing it. Yeah. So I wonder if I would have just kind of quit the band and moved to London and got a job as an intern in the studio, would I have been as good, not that I am any good at producing as I am now, because I've had to like kind of work people that aren't very good. I'm not in sessions with amazing musicians who can just play amazing guitar parts or drum parts straight off the bat. So I always wonder kind of like, where would it be? Would I be better in a better position, or worse in a worse position?
Yeah. Well, one thing that I remember you saying to me, like back in the day, I think it might have been like around the time when I started college, you like the people who progress at like producing and recording from like a college level aren't the people who just go to college every day. It's the people who like do it. Definitely. So then I was like, right, I need a home studio. I need some monitors. I was like, Jono, can you help me up with some mics?
It's the truth though.
Yeah.
It's the truth. I went to uni, college and uni, and the amount of people that just think that turning up and doing what the tutor tells them is going to land them this like amazing mindset and amazing job in a recording studio. And I think I only know about 3 or 4 people out of like 30 that actually do anything remotely audio, and that's including myself.
Would you recommend uni?
I recommend the right uni. Yeah. Don't do what I did and just go to uni for the sake of it and do an audio music production course. Yeah. Go somewhere where it's primarily contacts and actual studio grade proper stuff that you're going to use, like usage. Don't just go, they've got a computer and a nice mix and some speakers, I'm going to make some bangers, because it's not going to happen. Yeah. You need to go somewhere where you're going to get real life experience. Yeah.
The only thing I can comment on is I went to uni for a year and a half and dropped out. Because I did a studio and live music production course. And I remember going on the inset day, and it was learning all about like different inserts and effects and stuff, and we had to try and pick out which was which. And then the actual course was like completely different.
Yeah.
It was totally. Like the first year was a bit of a write-off anyway, going over stuff that I already knew because people were coming in off like history A levels and stuff.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
So like I'd say properly think about it and what you want from it, because I definitely don't think I learned anything from uni.
I don't think I did, apart from electronics.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, that's part of, like, I always knew that I didn't really want to go to uni anyway. But then, like, after what you told me about, you know, because if I'd have gone, it would have been to do, like, what you did.
Yeah.
Like, I probably would have gone with you, actually. But, like, you were just like,
that's why
I only really learned how to solder.
I kind of do admire you for that, because a lot of people feel pressure, like it's school, college, uni.
Yeah.
And I wish I would never have gone to uni.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I'll ever pay it back anyway. Like, but I just wish I'd never gone. It was just a waste of time. And I only really went because, like, my mum's like school, college, uni, because she's a teacher. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but electronics, soldering, that was the only thing I really learned from university. Yeah. Maybe a little bit of TV stuff, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
So touching on what you were saying before about how, like, when you was recording yourself being a drummer, like in your own band, so you've taken on that sort of like producer role in your own like private thing. So moving on from that, what made you want to start working with other people?
I remember what it was. I'm trying to think if what I'm thinking about was genuinely the first time. I'm trying to think. I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm not trying to be funny, but it could have just been money.
Yeah.
Genuinely could have.
That's a big factor.
Like, you know, it's that or a paper round.
Yeah.
And I had a studio. My mum was willing, because she's very understanding, and I knew like the guy in his band, and they need stuff recorded, and I was cheap enough.
Yeah.
So, you know, I kind of, well, he was in my band, so he knew I could do something, and so I thought, yeah, let's go for it. It was only, I think it was the summer after the first year of uni.
Yeah.
And I thought I was the dogs. I thought I was class. Now I've had a band come and do an EP over the summer, like, and yeah. But it was a big learning curve. But I think it was just money, really.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I don't want to get too far ahead of the conversation, but I don't. Every time I do this, in terms of like the job, I don't actually like. Some people like can say they can do this forever and they love it. I don't know. Like, I've never thought, oh my god, I'd love doing this. Never. I don't know. I just don't know. Just kind of like, right, we're going to record, and then like 10 hours later we've done a session. I'm like, what happened?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It literally is like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So what, like, would you say there was ever a point where, I mean, maybe not given that, but like, where it changed from just doing it for money to being like, oh, actually, you know, I can do this, and like, I could maybe make a job out of this? Because even though like running this place isn't necessarily like your full-time thing, you are an audio engineer full-time.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm still questioning it, whether I could ever do this studio side of it as a full-time job, because it's like so difficult.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to be lucky, and you've got to be extremely good to make like enough money where it's like, do you know, like when you think I want to do that for the rest of my life, not making a bit, like making enough money because you got enough people coming to you. Yeah. I'm still questioning it every day, and I think you have to, otherwise you end up like thinking you're better than you are.
Yeah.
But I mean, in terms of like, I don't know. It's kind of a really bad answer, but it did seem like it just rolled.
Yeah.
Even getting this place, like, I didn't actively seek it out. One of my mates told me about it. Yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, sound then, let's go for it. Maybe that was the point where I think I'm going to try. It's going to be now, because it was like I'd just got a mortgage, and it was like basically another mortgage rent wise, even though it's not, I don't own the building, it's another rent mortgage type on top of what I'm paying. Yeah. So I'm like, it was very kind of financially like, can I do this? But maybe that was the point where I'm thinking, you know, I can do this for a job because someone thinks I'm good enough. Yeah.
So you never thought, oh, like I'd love to have my own studio?
No, I thought my like home one was good enough. I thought that was sick. Do you know what I mean? But that's just your mindset of growing up. I've never thought, like, when I was a kid, I was like, I'm going to be a drummer. This is it. I'm a drummer for life. I've never thought that about being a producer. I'm going to be a producer. Like, that's it. It's just something I'm good at, and I just keep doing it because I don't mind it. I don't hate doing it. And if you get it right, it's rewarding.
Yeah.
I think that's so interesting. That's so interesting to think, you know, that being even the statement being a producer, you know, people see it in like a limelight and see it as like this very good thing, and you're saying you do it and you're doing it quite well, and you're obviously living the life, but that you might not be happy with it.
But it's a lot of people are like, what's his name? I always forget his name. The guy who had beats with Dre.
I don't know.
Sorry, I don't know his name. I can't remember his name. I'll try and find his name. But he produced like Dire Straits. He's done like stuff with like John Lennon back in the day. And he basically said himself, like, he didn't actually enjoy being a producer. He just fell into it.
Yeah.
And then because he did one good album, it just rolled and rolled and rolled.
Yeah. It is weird because it's like a niche field. You kind of think that everyone who gets into it on purpose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's strange to think that you can just fall into it.
Yeah.
Like it's an office job.
Yeah,
but like more
I
exciting than an office job.
I did fall into it, literally. Like, I never intended. So like, I just got a recording set up because I thought it was cool. And I just got like the crappiest Mac I could find, I can afford. Like Logic 7. This was in 2010 when like Logic 10 was like on the cusp of coming out.
Yeah.
Because I got it for like free off college. And I wanted to record drums, like doing drum covers and stuff in my bedroom. And then it was like, well, you know, we don't want to pay 500 quid every time to just record anything. So I'll start doing it. And then it just happened.
Yeah. You're the only real example that I know of someone who has like started in the bedroom, worked up. You started in your bedroom, then like you took over like half your house, and now has like a studio.
Yeah.
So like, and I don't want to get too like niche, but how much do you reckon like your gear and equipment matters with creativity in any field, really, like whether it's music or like video stuff or whatever?
So when it's like, it's a hard question to answer. Like, what in terms of like, do you mean in making the creativity sound good or just being creative in general?
Both. Take two roads with it.
Okay, I think everyone will say like equipment doesn't matter, and to a certain extent it doesn't. Like, just because I've got this amazing compressor, it's not going to make your song sound boss.
Yeah.
But I think equipment does make people like play better and perform better, because if you've got confidence in any walk of light, you're going to be better.
Yeah.
So for me as a drummer, if I've got in-ears in and I've got the kick booming, I've got the snare right there, the overheads are crisp, I play better with that than I do if it's just headphones with the guitar bass and I just hear the drums in the room.
Yeah.
So I think equipment does make me more creative, definitely, but it's not like
The be all end all.
I need that compressor, otherwise this song is finished. Do you know what I mean? Or I need that mic, because I've never been like that, because I've made decent sounding records with like the worst mics you can think of. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, to a certain extent, but it's not. I don't know how to explain it, but it's not like you don't need equipment to be creative, and you don't need certain equipment to get where you want to be, because every bit of equipment can get you there. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been produced and sold. But for me, I think if you're confident in what equipment you're using in terms of it inspires you, then it makes me be more creative. That's why people go to big studio like Park Street.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh my God, who's been here? Look at the Neve desk, look at the compressors, look at the mics, and you just get all this confidence and you just, yes, I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
But if you just turn up to a home studio and you're looking around and you're like, this is like, my dad coming through to get a loaf of bread. You know, you're just like, what is this? And you're a bit timid. You're like, you know, and I know people have experienced that when they've been to my studio, like especially people that I've worked with you as well.
Yeah.
And it makes you, if you're not confident, then you makes you a little bit kind of, I don't want to be here, and so I don't want to play.
Yeah. Well, from like the opposite end of the spectrum, you're still in the bedroom.
Yes.
But like, you know, alternatively, you don't produce other people either. So like that element kind of doesn't matter. But do you ever feel personally when you're making something that you're like, oh, I just wish I had like this plugin or like this extra bit of gear?
I'd say it's only bits and bobs.
Yeah.
So for example, for me, it's more like VSTs.
Right.
Like I'd say VSTs matter in what you're making.
Oh, we're getting niche.
Okay, so what instruments? What instruments you have, like in the computer, basically. Like if you have something like Logic, it comes with all the instruments built in, and the same with like Cubase.
Yeah.
It has the instruments built in for you. But if you want a certain sound, you might have to get a different instrument that costs money.
Yeah.
And that you might not need them to take your sound up a notch. But like I'd say like we're a good example.
Yeah.
Like the stuff we've made using what we've got compared to what you could possibly have, I think sounds very good. Yeah,
no, I would agree. It's mad as well when you've got people like Billie Eilish or whatever, like creating in the bedroom, and then you're like, oh, we're doing the exact same thing. Why aren't I that good? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it really like Phineas, who's Billie Eilish's brother, who like produces all her stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He's a year older than me.
Is he?
You have any idea how much that annoys me?
Yeah.
He's a year older than me, and he was just producing in the bedroom, and like he's sick at it. You know what I mean? So it's weird to like think about it, because in one way it's inspiring. It's like, oh shit, like you can get a number one record and make it in your bedroom. But then it's also like, I'm making it in my bedroom. Why am I not getting a number one record? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But you look at Steve Lacy, he makes everything on his phone. I know he probably doesn't, final mix doesn't come off his phone.
Yeah.
But he basically gets in like a live room that sounds decent, records everything to his phone. So he doesn't need, like, in his eyes, he doesn't need outboard compression and mad preamps and stuff. He just uses his iRig.
Well, that's also something that's probably worth considering, is like, I've seen stuff that have been like Phineas breaking down a Billie Eilish song, and I'm like, that sounds fine, but it doesn't sound like the final mix. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So even people who are doing it, as long as you got like the backing of a label or whatever, it's going to someone else to finish it off, to polish it up. But I know like we've had conversations quite a lot where it's also part of like the look of a big plush studio. That's why people will go.
Oh, massively.
Like people want to know. Like, I don't even remember before lockdown when I was talking about that band that we were going to do together, and they were like, have you got an equipment list? And I'd never experienced that before. So then you had to send an equipment list of the studio, because people don't really know what they're on about, but they're just like, oh, this looks impressive. That's
what I'm trying to tell you. It instills confidence. If you go equipment list and you've got a load of Neves 1073s, I've got some LA22s, I've got 1076s, they're like, oh lad, this is the studio, and then the rest is whatever happens. So like,
you just have to say a load of numbers.
Yeah, to some people it is a thing. It really is. We will pick a studio based on what equipment you've got. Sometimes they want that because like they're gonna just take stems or something. Yeah. But a lot of people, it's like, what equipment have you got? Oh, that means you're good.
Yeah. Would you say it applies to like the situation you're in now, where like obviously you can produce and record other people?
Yeah, and more so now than in the home studio, because when you're in home studio, people know what they're getting.
Yeah.
They're coming to you because you're cheap, because you're in a home studio. But when I come here, and I've upped my prices quite a bit, because I mean, it's still quite cheap anyway, really, considering, but I've upped my prices a bit from what it was, because it's now like, you can basically say it's a fully fledged studio.
Yeah.
It's even harder because you get that like next step up of bands who are and ahhing whether to go Park Street or whether to go, somewhere big in Manchester, or save the extra 60 quid a day and come record with you. But then you go, well, what equipment have you got? And you come round, it's not as big as Park Street. It hasn't got the equipment that Whitewood in Liverpool's got. So it's harder now than it used to be.
Yeah.
Definitely.
What would you say it's like? Because obviously when you have clients in, when you book a session, it's like time constrained and you have so much time to deal with like what they want and what you can do. How does it feel when like a problem comes up? Let's say they don't like something and you have to like sort of figure it out on the spot.
I can't say I've never really come across, because I think that all happens. That all comes when you're not prepared and you don't understand the band.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've never ever had a situation in the studio where they've been like, I don't like that and we can't figure it out. And if you can't figure, if it ever has happened and I've forgotten, it's not like, it's nothing difficult. You just kind of go, so what do you want then? And then you listen to someone. It's like, I feel like producers that are very much like, I know best and you're going to do what I do. And then they have that problem and you can't figure it out. That's because two people are too stubborn. So it's more about like figuring out what type of person they are and how they work. So it's more about like having the people skills to just not kind of like getting a disagreement. But again, I've never got in that situation because I've understood what the band want. So I think anyway, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Either that or they've been too nice and just not said they don't like it.
Yeah.
So, which has probably happened.
Yeah.
I've done some recordings which I listen back now and think, that probably wasn't what they wanted, but they've not said at the time. But you just got to listen to people. At the end of the day, they're paying. Do you know what I mean? Like they are paying for you, and they're paying for you to record, and they're paying for your input. But at the same time, it is their records or their song, so you have to just compromise. I don't reckon until you're a big name producer who's done loads of stuff, I don't think you can ever pull that card going, well, I know best.
Yeah.
Don't really think you can, unless you're Butch Fig or Eric Valentine or someone.
Yeah. Do you have any like philosophies when going into work with bands to like get good performances or anything?
Yeah, well, it ties in with that last thing, is that like homework. Listen to the demos, like call them, talk about like influences, talk about like reference tracks. Don't ever go in like blind. I know that from experience. I've done it before. Like the first album I ever recorded, It wasn't down to a fault of mine. It was so last minute. It was a Spilt album, basically.
Yeah.
Like, when we did the drums, and the drums were always the first thing, it was like, let's record drums. And that's just like you saying, like, when you're making your music, let's just put some drums in. It's like, well, what type of drums? You know what I mean? Like, you've got to have like a... so I'd like that album, even though it turned out okay, considering everything else we did after, because like vocals, guitars, bass and effects you can always rethink and redo, but drums are quite a big thing to redo. We never really thought about it, so a lot of things didn't work, but it's always about call them, speak to them, let's talk about references, have a meeting, let's just listen to music, and if you get all that right and you understand what they want, you'll go in and you're not recording blind, and when it comes to mixing and doing the rest of it, it's just working. Yeah,
it can be quite a fragile thing as well, I think, because obviously you've got like certain bands that you've been working with for like time now, you know what I mean? But I think especially when it comes to new people, it can take a lot of trust to get like a good performance. Because both of you have recorded me, and I don't like singing, and I think I'm a bit shit.
I don't like you singing sometimes.
But like, because I know yous both, I never feel uncomfortable singing. You know what I mean? But it's just weird, the whole, and I wonder why it is, like, it takes like a level of vulnerability to be to perform or to be creative.
Yeah. Can you swear on this, by the way?
Yeah.
Right. So I think another philosophy is don't be a cunt. I know. It's the truth, though. It really is the truth, because I've been in sessions even with like people that I've recorded with my own band when I wasn't good enough to put our own stuff out. Like, you know, I've been on the end of it. You know what I mean? Like, can you shut the fuck up? Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to listen to things that you can't hear. What you pay me for? Can you go and eat that somewhere else? Yeah. And I'm like thinking, like, literally, I'm not even joking. Like, we all had the subway once, and we come back and he started kicking off because we were like rustling and stuff. But even I've experienced it when I'm mixing and there's people chattering. But like, if you just start shouting, then their mood just drops and they don't want to be there anymore. Do you know what I mean? So just don't be a cunt. Then they just try and do the best you can. And sometimes it's all part of the environment. If you let people just do what they want to do and vibe and talk, ideas come about. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I listened to a podcast about one of the main guys who started all like the engineering on the rap stuff, and he would ask him about like when, like, say for example, Biggie had his whole crew. How could you mix? And he was like, that stuff made it into the song.
Yeah.
So if you were like, shut up, no weed, nothing, just Biggie, then it wouldn't have been what it was.
Yeah.
So just don't be a cunt and just let it flow. But if something is kind of like something where you can't work, then just maybe take someone to a side and say, look, I can't do this. We need to sort something out.
Yeah.
But don't ever just be a blunt knobhead.
Well, how much do you think like environment matters when you're making stuff? Because I always speak about like vibe, you know what I mean? And you always take the piss out of me.
Because you talk about vibe with lights.
Well, because
environment's a big word.
I'm very visual. So like, if the mood lighting is sick, then I'm sound. You know what I mean? But like, how much do you think it matters like where you're making music and like who's around?
I don't know. It depends on like, how you feel. Like you're saying the vibe and stuff. Like you were saying before, it's more like a people thing. Like I think if you and the other people sort of like don't get on, you know you're not seeing eye to eye straight away, you know you're in for a bit of a tough thing, and you know it's not going to flow very well, and it's going to be a bit awkward if you have to mention things. But if it's someone like you said before, like you've done like research on, you spoke to beforehand, like it might just be as important as the time in the studio. Yeah. So like when I'm with you, like it'll be fine, do you know what I mean? Because we know we can bounce off each other. But for example, like if me and you was to work together, it might not be that. We won't have that rapport straight away.
Yeah. I believe you're a fan of Jono's.
Yeah. So
I'm really looking forward to hearing this.
I like how you don't know. So in the Strangest song, Lucy, off the demo tape.
Yeah.
I've listened to the stems.
Yeah.
I just want to say I'm a big fan of the falsetto.
I know what, now it makes sense actually. That's the only thing that I probably did good on that EP.
Jono's falsetto. I'd have you doing BBs on every Strangers song record, because like ever since Lucy, I was like, you know what I mean.
That's been heavily auto-tuned by Liam. That
sometimes like the production's a bit questionable, but that part with the vocals and the back, like, that's a good part.
I remember like writing that. I was on the way home from the Royal Court.
Yeah.
And like I remember exactly where I was and listening to that, like listening to the demos.
Yeah.
and it just kind of like came to me. So I just did it when we were in the recession, and he was like keen on it, so we used it.
Angelic. That's the part I sing. Fuck the lyrics.
Cheers, mate. Nice one. It's good to know it connected to you. You know what I mean?
I'm in the new one as well, aren't I?
Yeah, he's in Lonely Animals.
Yeah, back and lay him up.
If you notice that, the secret Jono falsetto.
I don't know, I might have to look out for it.
It's in the documentary. If you just want to watch the documentary.
That took practice. That, you know, I don't mean the Lucy thing, being just
The
like
falsetto?
singing like that. It
Yeah,
was
you
all
were
because
saying.
I used like Chili Peppers are my favorite band. So John Frusciante falsetto is amazing.
Yeah.
It's kind of like he projects. Normally you say like head falsetto or head voice.
Yeah.
They're not the same, but they are very similar. It's always dead quiet, but the way he does it, he just seems to project it like he's kind of like,
Like it's got a good mix.
yeah, like he's like pushing it instead of just kind of like just coming out and you've got it, it's
Yeah.
dead quiet. So I've all practiced it like for years. So to get it kind of like to a point where I can do it well, because I drum doing it as well with my band, which is kind of like, it's a bit weird because you just kind of get loads of breath on the mic. You know,
Yeah.
you sound tired, especially when you do like falsetto is pushing air, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you do sound tired, but it's something I practiced for years because I kind of like what John did.
That's intriguing. It's intriguing because like one thing it brings me to is like, you know, like when we're doing If Anybody Loves Me.
Yeah.
And like
The
your ooze,
O's.
your ooze in that. We always talk about the ooze and the R's, you know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
need the ooze and the R's. And that was just like very quiet. That was like more like head voice and falsetto. We just like had to like get him quite close to the mic and turn the gain up, but
Yeah,
it sounds sick.
Yeah.
That's something that I didn't realize for so long is that like, because like I had singing lessons.
Can't tell,
I
can
know,
you?
yeah, fat lot of good that did. But I had singing lessons with the woman who taught Miles Kane, funnily enough,
Oh,
which
sick.
saves the jokes. But like, it was like about projecting and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I only realized recently that if you're in the studio, like you don't necessarily have to, like you can hold back,
Mm-hmm.
and the way it's mixed will like
Well,
you know,
Billie
or like the
Eilish.
compressor. Yeah, well,
Yeah,
exactly.
she just whispers, doesn't she?
Yeah.
It just reminded me of something. So right, I mentioned this to you the other day, right? So Jono's house is like a fucking zoo,
Right.
He's got dogs, he's got guinea pigs, pigeons.
Did have pigeons.
These
Last
all-
one got killed by a rat.
Are these all yours by choice?
No,
Or do they just live there?
No, it's my girlfriend. She's like mad animal person. Like.
Oh.
So
Pigeons.
at one point he had a squirrel that he'd taken into his home, right? And I hadn't seen him through a lot of lockdown, and we were working together over like Christmas. And we were just on a lunch break. I was like, "How's the squirrel, lad?" He's like, "Oh, I've got rid of it. I've got a duck with no eyes now."
No eyes.
And I was like, I thought he was taking the piss. I was like, "A duck with no eyes? What did you want to call it, Jono?"
I want to call it Billie Eilish,
That's clear.
but it never happened. We called it Eliza. I think it's a shame.
Me and Kate pissed ourselves.
I know, it's a shame. It's
I was on
You've
the
missed out
fucking
on that
I know.
one.
I said this. It should have been Billie Eilish all day long. But then do you know what Liam said after that, though? Sorry to kind of throw you under the bus here, Liam.
I don't know where this is going.
He questioned when I said the duck lay eggs.
Right.
Liam didn't realise they lay eggs. So,
Did I?
yeah. You went, what? Ducks don't lay eggs?
Well, thinking about it now, I know that ducks lay eggs, but maybe that's just cause of that conversation. Maybe that's where I learned it. Well, I just thought that was really funny, and I wanted to mention it on the podcast because it'll make a good clip.
Yeah. But it literally it got everything, just literally didn't grow eyes. It's mad because, I mean, not that we need to talk about it, but it has like, even like, you know, like you get sleep.
Yeah.
It has like ducts that are kind of like ducks. It has, you know where where like fluid comes to do
Yeah.
but it literally has no eye. So
Like, where does it live?
it lives at night time. It sleeps in a crate in the kitchen, and then it goes. And then as soon as anyone gets up, it goes in the garden all day for about till about like 11:30.
I can't
Poor
believe I've
duck.
derailed the
Poor
podcast
duck.
to talk about it. It just made me laugh because that's like 8 years.
Inspiration.
8 years of knowing you, and that's probably the only funny thing you've ever said to me.
I've said many funny things.
What are you working on at the minute? I know you've got the Abby Kelly tune coming out on the 5th.
Yeah,
which this
Yeah,
podcast will come out well after that.
yeah, that's coming out on the 5th. That's it's a good track actually. That was a kind of like quite a good thing to work on. It was kind of done in lockdown basically when some people like weren't available and stuff like that. So it was kind of like a joint effort really. But good song, very good song by Abby. She's kind of like a little hidden gem, I think. Abby, I think she'll blow up in the future. Me,
Yeah, I think she's got a great voice.
really like she's got like a vibe about her, like an aura
Yeah.
And I think as well, she's got like a famous thing about her where she's like,
Oh, yeah.
I think it's a thing you can tell where someone's destined to be
Yeah.
famous. Like some people are just you haven't got like the attitude to be famous or like well known. But I think Abby's definitely got something. So that's coming out on the 5th. That's a banger. Quite a heavy kind of like head banging banger.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm working on quite a few EPs. Actually, February's quite busy, to be honest with you, and into March really as well. Kind of like considering like December and January just been dead because of like basically no one wants to record anything because everyone's too scared. But February's quite big. I don't know if I don't want to name anyone because in case they don't want me to tell anyone.
Yeah.
But a few bands that you all know that are coming and doing some EPs. And they're like I'm always working with bands like Spilt and stuff.
Yeah.
Always doing stuff. Yeah. And the Acoustic Gods actually they're going to be releasing a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of stuff with them recently as well.
Is that new Sifter tune out soon?
Yes, I don't know when it's out exactly, but has it been announced?
26th
Go
of
on,
Feb.
Paul.
Yes. It's like
Yes,
yeah.
Paul.
we need him to have like a laptop, on Joe Rogan.
Yeah,
Where he's like,
yeah.
Jamie, pull that up.
Yeah, so the Sifter song's coming out. That was done before Christmas. That's a really, really good tune. That I think people are realising as well because I think when they uploaded it to BBC Introducing, it was like bang straight off.
Yeah.
Like they got contacted straight away. It was like straight on Merseyside from Dave Monks. I think they've upped their game big time with their songwriting. So yeah.
So it is time for Jack's Tactical Tracks.
Yes.
Do you want to explain the premise for anyone who's not seen this before?
Yes. So, again, I usually, just on the pass, I'll come to Liam with just a mad question relating to music because it's something that, I feel like we speak very deeply about. So, every episode will come at you with a question. I just want you to put a song to it.
Mm-hmm.
So, the question for this episode is, what song makes you feel like you're living in your own movie?
I had to think about this one. Can I explain my decision first?
You do,
Please
you, mate.
So I think when you think of that question, you think about something which makes you feel like you're, like a bad man, a rock star or something, like driving a fast car. But for me, music, like I do like fast music and stuff, but music for me is like, I feel like you feel it more than you hear it, for me anyway.
Yeah.
So music, that's kind of like I think there's a word for it, but like when like chords that kind of work well and they kind of like, they're like kind of like deep chords. I don't know.
Like atmospheric, cinematic.
No, it's not the sound of it. It's just chords that like there's certain chords that kind of like seem more emotional than other
Like
chords.
melancholy.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. So I like music which is very much like that, where it kind of like hits you in the feels, do you know what I mean? More than just like it then gets me going, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've picked, for me, just based on the lyrics as well, and kind of does relate a little bit to my life, is Little Hell by City and Colour. Don't know if you ever heard it. No. I always play it on guitar. It's probably the only song that I always play when with Liam. But that one, it's just because it's like, again, I'm not like an overly emotional guy, but like that song does like hit me there, and it kind of like makes me think.
Yeah.
So that's why I picked it, because when I listen to it, it makes me think about certain things.
Do you remember when you first listened to it?
No, I think I'd heard of the band before because I just downloaded. It was like a LimeWire album when I was a kid.
Oh, was that long ago?
Just had it with this other album, and then I was like looking through iTunes and seeing. I was like, I do like that album. Let's see what else they've got. Like 5-6 years later, and they had like like loads of albums out. And Little Hell, it's called the album. One of the albums called Little Hell. The song's called Little Hell, and it just hit me straight off because of the way like. I think it's the way he plays the guitar. It's almost like someone's talking to you because he doesn't just strum the guitar. There's like a mix between like picking, like slapping and strumming. And then it's the lyrics to it as well. But yeah, I kind of like feel music. That's how I like to perceive it. Then just, it's not just about listening and thinking, oh, this is getting me going.
Yeah.
More kind of like, I like it when it makes you think. Like I got a playlist called The Feels, and it's like motorway driving music.
Mate, I never had you down as that kind of guy.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
That's
I don't like... If the music doesn't make me kind of like feel a certain way, I don't like it.
Yeah.
And then also if it sounds like shit. I don't like it as well. But yeah, that song Little Hell by City and Colour.
This is what I was talking about last time, though, on one of the last episodes, where like, if you just hear a song and like you instantly feel that thing where you want to listen to it, it'll attach to you. Do you
it's
know
a
what
lot
I mean?
stronger in it.
Yeah.
Just something that sounds good. Well, what you've just said reminds me of a tune that would also answer this that I didn't think of. Tune that you showed me. My answer for this is there's this. It was going to be a 1975 tune, but we spoke about the 1975 on the last 2 podcasts, so I was like, we can't fucking.
I was going to mention them before as well.
We can't do this again. There's an instrumental song by John Hopkins called "Feel First Life," and it's like an ambient song. Starts off on like nice piano and then ends up with like a choir thing. But that is like, it sounds to me like something is ending and a new beginning is happening, which I guess is maybe the point. That's like kind of what he wanted, but. Like the amount of times I've sat in the car, like not even driving anywhere, I'm just sat in the car, just having a moment to that song.
Yeah,
Sat in the Nissan Note.
Sat in the Nissan Note, having a moment.
Feeling.
Yeah. Well, as well, it's a tough question because, like I said before, I'm very visual and like cinematically minded.
Yeah.
So like half of my record collection would probably make me think I'm in a movie. And then there's all the songs that are actually from movies in my record collection. You know what I mean? Like that John Hopkins one was, they used it. Have you ever seen Drive? That film Drive?
No, I've not seen it personally, but I know you talk about it a lot.
Yeah. The BBC did like a rescoring of it. It's where Medicine by the 1975 comes from. Just had to get the 1975 in there, didn't I?
All right, okay. All right, okay.
But like, that's where this John Hopkins song comes from. Like, he made it to rescore this film. But when you were talking about your driving playlist, it made me think of Pickup Truck, Kings of Leon, because that's
on there. Of course,
I
it's
knew
on
it
there.
would be. Yeah, that's very like, that's another one for in the car when you're like.
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, like 1975. Obviously, that first album's full of bangers, but my favorite song is "You" because it's that vibe, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? And probably "Woman."
Yeah.
Because they're on that playlist. Because they're that vibe.
Yeah.
So I do like music that gets you going, but for me, it's got to be music that kind of feels right there. I don't know, something that just resonates with you. I don't know.
What about you? What are you thinking?
So again, I have 2. One that I planned on speaking about, and one I've been talking about. The feels has just come to me as well. The first one's "Heroes" by Bowie.
Oh, okay. I was only thinking about the fact that you have beef with this song.
You have beef?
Yeah, I just think it's overrated.
Fair enough. I can't argue that it's a very subjective thing. But I know I've explained this to you before, but like I have this weird thing about like music like before I was born. Like it doesn't quite register like the same. It's just a weird thing that I have. And that's one song that proper, when listened to it, and we've done a thing in college before when we was talking about stems and like how they mixed it. And I don't know, it makes me feel like I am in a movie. And especially like, have you ever seen Perks of Being a Wallflower?
No.
Bit of a chick flick, but it's they're in a car and like they go out the sunroof and they're in a tunnel with loads of lights and that song's playing. And that's what I always picture it as.
Yeah.
So every time I listen to it, that's how I feel. Like I feel like I'd want to have it on a cassette tape in my car. I'd want a tape deck.
It's one of them songs, isn't it? And similar to one I mentioned, it's, you know, when you watch TV programs and they've always got like a sad ending and they always play that same style of music over it, where they kind of go into all the stories of that episode are coming to a close. Yeah, it's that song that's on top of that is the music that I like. Yeah, and I don't produce that music ever.
Yeah. Well, that's why I wouldn't have thought. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's mad. What's the other one?
My other one is by Coldplay. Probably someone else you have beef with.
No,
but it's called A Warning Sign.
Yeah,
I believe.
I
think it's off a Rush of Blood to the Head.
Oh,
I think
that's one of my favorite albums as well. I didn't even click onto that as a song.
It's one of them, like, especially when you get into someone, you just kind of go off the singles and like what's popular. Yeah, and it's just one of them that when I listened to it, I was like, oh shit, I'm about to feel this.
Yeah.
Do you know why I didn't recognise it? Because I think that's one of the albums that you just put the first one on, put your phone in your pocket and just listen to the whole thing. Yeah. It's never a kind of skip for me. Yeah.
But yeah, that's a very... It's like a sad emotional song. Yeah. But it's got the cinematic vibes to it. Like I've explained to you about this question before, like there's the meme of like the kid sat in the back of the car just looking out the window when it's raining. And that's how I feel when A Warning Sign comes on.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
Like I put it on if I'm going for a walk.
Yeah. Makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it doesn't make me necessarily think sad things. Like it also reminds me of like springtime and like when like the trees are blossoming and stuff.
Yeah. It was weird to me that you said Heroes actually, because that's like quite positive and uplifting, whereas I often think when I think cinematic, I think like sad.
Yeah.
Apart from, like I said, don't laugh at me, Paul. Apart from like I said, like the stuff that is actually from, like if I listen to like the Baby Driver soundtrack. You seen Baby Driver?
No.
You seen Baby Driver?
Maybe.
No.
God, you're both uncultured swine. But like the Baby Driver soundtrack or like the Drive soundtrack, that's the only stuff that I would class as cinematic that isn't sad to me, but that's because I associate it with like me driving around pretending I'm in that film.
Yeah. Okay, so we just cut for a little session and we were speaking and Jono has come forward with a song that he wants us to listen to.
Yeah.
And it's a good idea that we could probably keep going through future episodes.
Yeah,
So,
get people to recommend shit.
Yeah, it's a song. It's not just like any song. So it's not just like a tune.
Is it on the playlist?
No, actually, no, it's not that vibe. It's a song called "Music" by John Miles, right? And I've only heard it like the other day quite a few times. Not like something I've been hearing since I've been a kid, and it is like, for me, it's unbelievable. Not in the fact that it's like, oh my god, this is gonna live on my playlist. It's just like an interesting, amazing song.
What's the vibe?
I don't want to give it away because like
not even the genre.
No, but that's the whole point of it, though. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not like it's always listen to this rock song. I don't want to give you any more information because I might give away why I'm telling you to listen to it.
Okay.
So listen to the music by John Miles, and it's quite fascinating, the song. So I think that'll be quite a good topic of conversation.
Yeah. Well, we might talk about it on the next podcast then. I'll put it as a card on this podcast so that people can go listen to it. So that is it for this episode of Stereotypical. Big thanks to Jono Tringham.
Nice one. Thank you very much.
Man.
Cheers for having me.
Thank you for coming on. It's a pleasure.
Anytime.
You are better looking in person as well.
I don't picture very well, do I?
Thank you to Jack, as always. And we'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe, follow Allo Sound and the OX Collective for more content. Goodbye.